Hello, my name is Pastor Kathy Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm and St. Paul Lutheran Church in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We are reading through the Bible with commentary. We are reading the entire Bible, even the parts that aren't very fun to read, which is the part we've gotten to today. We are in the sixth book of the Bible, which is it's seventh, the seventh book of the Bible, Judges, and we're almost done. We're actually going to finish the book today. The book of Judges comes after the people of Israel have come out of Egypt, gone into Israel. Moses has gone, Joshua has taken over, and then Joshua is gone. And so for the next period of time, there are judges who take turns kind of either leading them militarily or judging between the different tribes. And as we've gone through the book of Judges, the judges have gotten worse. They start out not too bad, and we will return to the Lord, we will serve the Lord. We are now have the last three chapters of Judges today, and it is an ugly mess. And both at the beginning and the end of this passage, we hear, in those days when there was no king of Israel. So back in the day, these are stories that were handed down orally and then written down possibly during the Babylonian exile. They say, oh, this little edit was made later. This is the history, though. And today's history is not the stuff that we teach in Sunday school, shall we say. It's pretty ugly stuff. But if we're going to read the whole Bible, we're going to read the lists of names, and we're going to read the ugly stuff, which is part of how we know that this stuff probably really happened, because it wasn't this polished up, all pretty version of things. This is here's what came down through history that happened. So it's not pretty. So chapter 19, in those days when there was no king in Israel, so way back in the day, a certain Levite residing in remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim took to himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. But his concubine became angry with him, and there's a footnote on the angry, prostituted herself against. As a concubine, or as a woman, she cannot ask for divorce. The man can divorce the woman. The woman cannot divorce the man. So if for whatever reason she wants to have a divorce, what can she do? So whatever it was that she could do, apparently she did. They've translated it as became angry with him. The original Hebrew was prostituted herself against him. She went away from him to her father's house at Bethlehem in Judah and was there some 4 months. So in other words, she left. And they called it prostituted or angry, but she left. She split. She took off. Verse 3, then her husband set out after her to speak tenderly to her and bring her back. So he regretted. When he reached her father's house, the girl's father saw him and came with joy to meet him, because Papa doesn't want her to be there with him. He wants her to be with whoever she's supposed to be with. His father-in-law, the girl's father, made him stay, and he remained with him 3 days. So they ate and drank, and he stayed there. On the 4th day, they got up early in the morning, and he prepared to go. But the girl's father said to his son-in-law, fortify yourself with a bit of food, and after that you may go. So even though this woman is a concubine, she's a wife. She is considered very much a wife, but there's like 2 statuses of wife, and this is the lower status of wife. So she probably had very little say in the fact that she was married off to this Levite, and very little say in what's happening to her. But she had enough say to say, you know what, I'm not staying here. I'm going back to my dad's house. So what can she do? She did. But Levite came to visit, and the 2 men just started partying it up. So we have the Levite, Ephraim, Judah. So the 2 men sat and ate and drank together, and the girl's father said to the man, why not spend the night and enjoy yourself? When the man got up to go, his father-in-law kept urging him until he spent the night there again. On the 5th day, he got up early in the morning to leave, and the girl's father said, fortify yourself. So they lingered until the day declined, and the 2 of them ate and drank. Another footnote, or just they. No. Oh, just it lacks a drink. And the 2 of them ate. When the man and his concubine and his servant got up to leave, father-in-law, the girl's father, said to him, "Look, the day is worn on till it's almost evening. Spend the night. See, the day is drawn to a close. Spend the night and enjoy yourself. Tomorrow you can get up early in the morning for your journey and go home." So father-in-law is practicing lots of hospitality, or maybe he just really enjoys having the company. Verse 10, "But the man would not spend the night. He got up and departed, and arrived opposite Jebus, that is Jerusalem. He had with him a couple of saddle donkeys, and his concubine was with him. When they were near Jebus, the day was far spent, and the servant said to his master, 'Come now, let's turn aside to the city of the Jebusites, and spend the night in it.' But his master said to him, 'We will not turn aside into a city of foreigners who do not belong to the people of Israel, but we will continue to Gibeah.' Then he said to his servant, 'Come, let's try to reach one of these places to spend the night at Gibeah or Ramah.' So they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down on them near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. They turned aside there to go in and spend the night at Gibeah. He went in and sat down in the open square of the city, but no one took them in to spend the night." Hospitality in the Middle East always has been and still is a huge thing. And so there's no inn, there's no Best Western. What are they going to do? They're going to go to the square and they're going to sit and they're going to hope that somebody gives them hospitality and invites them in. And if you're a well-off person, then the standard of the culture was you're going to invite them in. And as a person who just went camping, traveling until the sun is going down, not a good idea. Verse 16, then at evening there was an old man coming from his work in the field. The man was from the hill country of Ephraim and was residing at Gibeah. The people of the place were Benjaminites. When the old man looked up and saw the wayfarer in the open square of the city, he said, "Where are you going, and where do you come from?" He answered him, "We are passing from Bethlehem in Judah to the remote parts of the hill country of Ephraim, from which I come. I went to Bethlehem in Judah, and I am going to my home. Nobody has offered to take me in. We, your servants, have straw and fodder for our donkeys, with bread and wine for me and the woman and the young man along with us. We need nothing more." The old man said, "Peace be to you. I will care for all your wants, only do not spend the night in the square." So he brought him into his house and fed the donkeys. They washed their feet, and they ate and drank. So they've been brought in by an old man. Verse 22, "While they were enjoying themselves, the men of the city, a perverse lot, surrounded the house and started pounding on the door. They said to the old man, the master of the house, 'Bring out the man who came into your house, so that we may have intercourse with him.'" So not the woman. They're asking for the man, which is basically they want to rape him and exert power over him. And the man, the master of the house, went out to him and said to them, "No, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Since this man is my guest, do not do this vile thing. Here are my virgin daughter and his concubine. Let me bring them out now. Ravish them and do whatever you want to them, but against this man do not do such a vile thing." But the man would not listen to him. So the man seized his concubine and put her out to them. They wantonly raped her and abused her all through the night until morning. As the dawn began to break, they let her go. As the morning appeared, the woman came and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was, until it was light. So, just to be clear, rape is an act of violence. And for whatever reason, these men want to do violence against the visitor. And when they couldn't do it against the visitor and he stuck the concubine out the door, they did the violence against the concubine. Rape is a violent act. Verse 27, "In the morning her master got up, opened the door of the house, and when he went out to go on his way, there was his concubine lying on the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. 'Get up,' he said to her, 'we're going.' But there was no answer. Then he put her on the donkey, and the man set out for his home. When he had entered his house, there was no answer because she died. She's dead. They killed her. When he had entered his house, he took a knife, and grasping his concubine, he cut her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territory of Israel." Just unbelievable. Then he commanded the men whom he sent, saying, Thus you shall say to all the Israelites, Has such a thing ever happened? Since the day that the Israelites came up from the land of Egypt until this day, consider it, take counsel, and speak out. I am certain that rape has happened since Israel was formed, because they've been going through the book of Judges and people are doing all kinds of terrible things. But is it the rape of the concubine? Is it the violation of somebody to whom they were extending hospitality? For whatever reason, this Levite, who represents the priests, his concubine has been raped and killed, and now he's rallying the entire nation. Chapter 20. Then all the Israelites came out from Dan to Beersheba, including the land of Gilead. And the congregation assembled in one body before the Lord at Mizpah. The chiefs of all the people, of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves an assembly of the people of God, 400,000 soldiers bearing arms. And my footnotes here say every time the word thousand, so 400,000 could also mean military units. So the translators have translated it as thousand, and that's how I'm going to read it, but possibly it's actually 400 military units. Now, how many's in a military unit, I don't know. Either way, it's a lot of people. 400,000 foot soldiers bearing arms. Now the Benjaminites heard that the people of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. And the Israelites said, Tell us, how did this criminal act come about? The Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered, I came to Gibeah that belongs to Benjamin, I and my concubine, to spend the night. The lords of Gibeah rose up against me and surrounded the house at night. They intended to kill me, and they raped my concubine until she died. Then I took my concubine and cut her into pieces and sent her throughout the whole extent of Israel's territory, for they have committed a vile outrage in Israel. So now you, Israelites, all of you, give your advice and counsel here. Verse 8. All the people got up as one, saying, We will not any of us go to our tents, nor will any of us return to our houses. But now this is what we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot. We will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10,000, to bring provisions for the troops who are going to repay Gibeah of Benjamin for all the disgrace that they have done in Israel. So all the men of Israel gathered against the city, united as one. So, okay, we're going to go after the city of Gibeah. Verse 12. The tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, What crime is this that has been committed among you? Now then, hand over those scoundrels in Gibeah, so that we may put them to death and purge the evil from Israel. But the Benjaminites would not listen to their kinsfolk, the Israelites. The Benjaminites came together out of the towns to Gibeah to go out to battle against the Israelites. On that day, the Benjaminites mustered 26,000 armed men, or 26 armed military units, from their towns, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah. So all of the Israelites asked for is, give us the leaders of Gibeah, the people who did this crime, who perpetrated the rape and the murder. Give us those people. And the Benjaminites say, nope, we're all coming up against you. Verse 16. Of all this force there were 700 picked men who were left-handed. Everyone could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. And the Israelites, apart from Benjamin, mustered 400,000 armed men, again, possibly military units, either way, 400, all of them warriors. So a note on slings, people who could sling a rock, it was like a rifle. It was a shot. It was so fast, so powerful, you could absolutely drop somebody. It was like shooting somebody with a gun. To have a very accurate sling was a very powerful weapon, actually. Verse 18. The Israelites proceeded to go up to Bethel, where they inquired of God, Which of us shall go up first to battle against the Benjaminites? The Lord answered, Judah shall go up first. Then the Israelites got up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. The Israelites went out to battle against Benjamin, and the Israelites drew up the battle line against them at Gibeah. The Benjaminites came out of Gibeah and struck down on that day 22,000 of the Israelites. The Israelites went up and wept before the Lord until the evening, and they inquired of the Lord, Shall we again draw near to battle against our kinsfolk, the Benjaminites? And the Lord said, Go up against them. The Israelites took courage and again formed the battle line in the same place where they had formed it on the first day. Verse 24. So the Israelites advanced against the Benjaminites the second day. Benjamin moved out against them from Gibeah the second day and struck down 18,000 of the Israelites, all of them armed men. Then all the Israelites, the whole army, went back to Bethel and wept, sitting there before the Lord. They fasted that day until evening. Then they offered burnt offerings and sacrifices of well-being before the Lord. And the Israelites inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, ministered before it in those days. So back in the day, before there were kings, and just a reminder that there is an ark and there is the covenant and it's all there at this place, and so they're going to check with God. And the high priest is saying, Shall we go out once more to battle against our kinsfolk, the Benjaminites, or should we desist? The Lord answered, Go up tomorrow, I will give them into your hand. Verse 29. So Israel stationed men in ambush around Gibeah. Then the Israelites went up against the Benjaminites on the third day and set themselves in array against Gibeah as before. When the Benjaminites went out against the army, they were drawn away from the city. As before, they began to inflict casualties on the troops along the main roads, one of which goes up to Bethel and the other to Gibeah, as well as in the open country, killing about 30 men of Israel. The Benjaminites thought, They're being routed as before us as previously. But the Israelites said, Let's retreat and draw them away from the city toward the roads. The main body of the Israelites drew back its battle line to Baal Tamar, while those Israelites who were in ambush rushed out of their place west of Gibeah. There came against Gibeah 10,000 picked men out of all Israel, and the battle was fierce. But the Benjaminites did not realize that disaster was close upon them. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel, and the Israelites destroyed 25,100 men of Benjamin that day, all of them armed. Then the Benjaminites saw that they were defeated. The Israelites gave ground to Benjamin because they trusted the troops in ambush that they had stationed against Gibeah. The troops in ambush rushed quickly upon Gibeah. They put the whole city to the sword. So they killed everybody in the city. Now the agreement between the main body of Israel and the men in ambush was that when they set up the cloud of smoke out of the city, the main body of Israel should turn in battle. But Benjamin had begun to inflict casualties on the Israelites, killing about 30 of them. So they thought, Surely they're defeated before us, as in the first battle. But when the cloud, a column of smoke, began to rise out of the city, the Benjaminites looked behind them, and there was the whole city going up in smoke toward the sky. Then the main body of Israel turned, and the Benjaminites were dismayed, for they saw that disaster was close upon them. Therefore they turned away from the Israelites in the direction of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them, and those who came out of the city were slaughtering them in between. Cutting down the Benjaminites, they pursued them from Nohah and trod them down as far as a place east of Gibeah. 18,000 Benjaminites fell, all of them courageous fighters. When they turned and fled toward the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, 5,000 of them were cut down on the main roads, and were pursued as far as Gidom, and 2,000 of them were slain. So all of them who fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 arms-bearing men, all of them courageous fighters. But 600 turned and fled toward the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, and remained at the rock of Rimmon for 4 months. Meanwhile, the Israelites turned back against the Benjaminites and put them to the sword, the city, the people, the animals, and all that remained. Also, the remaining towns they set on fire. And sometimes I hear biblical scholars say, it couldn't really have been 5,000. It couldn't really have been that many. It couldn't really, except if you've ever been to a Civil War battlefield, such as Antietam, and they have this lane, and in this one lane, within about an hour, or maybe 3, 5,000 soldiers fell. So yes, absolutely, it could really have been 5,000 at a time. It could really have been 18,000. It could really have been a ridiculous number of people who died those 3 days. Chapter 21. Now the Israelites had sworn at Mizpah, "No one of us shall give his daughter in marriage to Benjamin." And the people came to Bethel and sat there until evening before God, and they lifted up their voices and wept bitterly. They said, "O Lord, the God of Israel, why has it come to pass that today there should be one tribe lacking in Israel?" So they were 12 tribes, and they pretty much just wiped out Benjamin. On the next day, the people got up early, built an altar there, and offered burnt offerings and sacrifices of well-being. Then the Israelites said, "Which of all the tribes of Israel did not come up in the assembly to the Lord?" For a solemn oath had been taken concerning whoever did not come up to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, "That one shall be put to death." But the Israelites had compassion for Benjamin their kin, and said, "One tribe is cut off from Israel this day. What shall we do for wives for those who are left, since we have sworn by the Lord we will not give any of our daughters as wives?" Then they said, "Is there anyone from the tribes of Israel who did not come up to the Lord at Mizpah?" It turned out that no one from Jabesh Gilead had come out to the camp, to the assembly. For when the roll was called among the people, not one of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead was there. So the congregation sent 12,000 soldiers there, and commanded them, "Go put the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead to the sword, including the women and the little ones. This is what you shall do. Every male, every woman that has laid with a male, you shall devote to destruction." And they found, so you didn't come and you didn't fight with us, so now you're all dead. It's just not a fun part of the Bible to be reading through. Verse 12, "And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had never slept with a man, and brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the whole congregation sent word to the Benjaminites who were at the rock of Rimmon, and proclaimed peace to them. Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women who they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, but they did not suffice for them." There were not enough women. So what are they going to do? And I'm not completely clear on how they managed to kill all the women of Benjamin. They only live in that one town of Gibeah? For whatever reason, the Benjaminites are about to be wiped out unless they find them some more women. Verse 15, "The people had compassion on Benjamin because the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. So the elders of the congregation said, 'What shall we do for wives for those who are left, since there are no women left in Benjamin?' And they said, 'There must be heirs for the survivors of Benjamin, in order that a tribe may not be blotted out from Israel. Yet we cannot give any of our daughters to them as wives. For the Israelites had sworn, "Cursed be anyone who gives a wife to Benjamin." So they said, "Look, the yearly festival of the Lord is taking place at Shiloh, which is north of Bethel, on the east of the highway that comes up from Bethel to Shechem, and the south of Lebonah." And they instructed the Benjaminites, saying, "Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and watch. When the young women of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances, then come out of the vineyards, and each of you carry off a wife for himself from among the young women of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin." So yeah, let's just go add kidnapping to war and rape and abuse and everything else that we've just read about. "Then if their fathers or their brothers come to complain to us, we'll say to them, 'Be generous and allow us to have them, because we did not capture in battle a wife for each man. But neither did you incur guilt by giving your daughters to them.'" So you swore that you would not give your daughter to Benjamin, but you didn't say anything about the Benjamin coming and taking your daughters. The Benjaminites did so. They took wives for each of them from the dancers whom they abducted. Then they went and returned to their territory and rebuilt the towns and lived in them. So the Israelites departed from there at that time by tribes and families, and they went out from there to their own territories. In those days there was no king in Israel. All the people did what was right in their own eyes. That is the last verse of the book of Judges. We have made it through the 7th book of the Bible. And it just really sums up the book of Judges. In those days, there was no king, and all the people did what was right in their own eyes. And as we said, as we go through the book of Judges, it gets worse and it gets uglier and gets, we now have rape and civil war and destroying entire cities. And, oh, well, I guess you can come steal the women since we can't give you the women. And it's kind of a hot mess. But we've made it through the book of Judges, and next time we will start into the book of Ruth, which is such a wonderful book. And I think it's only about 4 chapters long. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it in one session, though, because it's just such a wonderful book. So we'll probably do a couple of sessions to get through the book of Ruth. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. And may you try not to repay evil with way more evil. And like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you again next time. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.